we are going to be discussing a very important and a pertinent matter, which is regarding infusing of spirit of national challenges and initiatives. Now, we have been talking that, yes, India, our day has come. And we have no qualms about in saying that India is going to strike back. In fact, the journey has already started. I mean, the kind of recognition, the kind of seriousness which the countries are taking. Like if you see the United States, just the way they are echelon towards us shows and speaks volumes of India's, diplomacy, India's statesmanship, and the kind of standing which we have across the globe. Now, to discuss this, we have a very eminent panel which we are going to discuss. First is Air Marshal Anil Chopra. I mean, a person who's so very well known into the defense circles. I have heard him so many times when I was posted in the integrated defense staff and in various other colleges of instruction or the schools of instructions. Truly, a reservoir of knowledge, and who's contemporary in the issues, who has kept himself abreast with the current situations. He has been a Director General for Center for Air Power, which is popularly a former member, AFT member. So I can always say that, he's a perfect blend of execution and judiciary as far as the defense forces are concerned. Now, we will request you, sir, to just share your knowledge so that we can imbibe from these things and the posterity can learn something from us, and then we will have an interactive session.
Thank you so very much, Brigadier Saab, and thanks GCTC, Mr. Tikku. Thanks, of course, our chair, Nabila Jamaluddin is still not there. But the subject given to us was infusing the spirit of nationalism, challenges and initiatives. And, normally we Fauji's, when we come on such programs, we wear a, Modi jacket or some formal dress or a tie. But, for a change, you notice that I'm wearing a specially designed t-shirt, which I've designed myself. And if you can see, there is a logo here, which is my personal logo. It says PI. PI stands for Proud Indian. And see how I designed this with the India colors. And I am going to speak primarily on what is nationalism and patriotism, what are the challenges, what all we must do towards it, because I am I live patriotism, as you can see from my t-shirt. It's my day-to-day, and I will give you examples as I speak along. How do I understand nationalism? Identification with one's own nation and support for its interests, its loyalty, its devotion is what I think is nationalism, being a part of the national conscience. To promote India's culture, its interests, its history is what I think. And we in Fauj at a very young age, especially when we joined Sainik schools or we joined the National Defense Academy, we are given this motto: service before self. मैंने उसको बाद में मोटो बना दिया, पहले राष्ट्र, nation first, पहले देश. And I think in nationalism, there are two things. One are symbols, and the second is symbolism. Now, of course, the greatest symbols of any country are the national flag. You can see one part just behind me. The other is the national anthem, which are the main great symbols. And the nations, especially powerful leaders of the country, they tend to find occasions to reinvigorate and bring the nationalism within the country. And we are all, I'm personally very proud that PM Modi has announced Har Ghar Tiranga. We're going to do that on 13th to 15th of August, and I am excitedly looking forward to it. In fact, I pulled out a Tiranga, which was of my grandfather's day's time, which is made of pure khadi. It was nicely wrapped and kept by me. I pull it out every year for a short while for celebrations. There are many ways of celebrating nationalism. Celebrations of our identity. We celebrate nationalism through our artworks, through paintings, through illustrations. Like we all know Sudarshan ji, who's there in Odisha on the Odisha beach. He does sand art, and it is a way of showing nationalism through writings, through writing articles about India, about poems, through multimedia, television, through websites, through movies, through events like what we are doing right now. There are many ways of bringing out patriotism. But before I talk more about nationalism and patriotism, I want to, as I mentioned, tell you how I have been trying to bring in symbols of patriotism in my own life. The day I was retiring from service as an air marshal, I bought a car which I must use for after retirement, and my staff officer asked me, he said, "Sir, would you think you would want to have some special number for your car?" I said, he expected me to say 1111 or 7777. I said, no. I said, if you can get me, if you all can help me, I want my car number to be 15th August 1947. That's a true story. Or 26th January 1950. And I say with great pride that all of us put in a lot of effort. It took me nearly 2 months to be able to get this number. And I'm going to show you here through my mobile, my car, which has got a number 15th August 1947. I must say with pride that everybody in social media knows about it. Even the Prime Minister of India knows about it. And of course, the Prime Minister Modi does even follows me on Twitter. Many ministers of the government of India have actually taken pictures with my car, because this is a unique number. And I say with very great pride that many other things that I did, including my Facebook page, has got a proud Indian and national flag as the logos. I run a website called IndiaFirstAlways.com. So I think I'm trying to lead by example. After I retired, I pumped in a large amount of my pension money to make artifacts on India that I have been distributing free to children when I go to give talks in schools and colleges. It includes a large number of things. One, of course, is the T-shirt that I have. You all have just seen, and I must tell you that written behind the T-shirt is Nation First. I'm showing you what is written behind the T-shirt. These T-shirts I'm distributing, to a large number of people. See, I made special carry bags. See this special carry bags that I made. Again, India colors. I'm showing a Nation First. There are many other things. I made wall clocks, wrist watches. See this wall clock. It's made by me, designed by me. It's about India. There are, various other types of caps about India that I have designed and made. And see this. This is another cap, the Gandhi copy, which has got the Nation First written on it. So why I'm telling you all this is that very important that we must bring in symbolism. And I will talk a little more about this. When the son of Indian Air Force legend, Jumbo Majumdar, about 5 years back, he decided to auction the gallantry medals of his father in London. And the government of India was approached by the embassy, Indian embassy in London, and they said, the government or the Air Force must buy these medals. They were going to charge. The auction was for about 20 lakh rupees. And finally, when I came to know, because I had commanded the same squadron which Jumbo Majumdar had commanded, one squadron, on prime time TV, I offered to buy his medals for India from my own pension money. I said, okay, 20 lakhs, I will spend it by bite. But I was very happy that later on, Government of India, Indian Air Force, they pumped in the money, and the medals were finally bought. I do believe that passion and enthusiasm are key elements of nationalism. These are the two words in which my entire life is based, and I keep telling young people that these are the two words. These are the two words, when you sum it up, becomes the Indian word, Hindi word, Josh. So nationalism and patriotism are both important. They are different. Nationalism emphasizes on unity of culture, past culture, history, inclusion of language and heritage. Territory is very, very important to nationalism. Patriotism is based on love more towards the people, less towards the land, and with a great emphasis on values and beliefs. The fact that the influence of nationalism, the factors that are there to influence nationalism include education, social media, cultural background, involvement in organizations, parental education, and involvement in various other activities of the nation. And every day, nationalism focuses on ordinary people as opposed to the elites. Who was the father of nationalism in India? I must tell you, Bal Gangadhar Tilak is considered the father of assertive nationalism in India. And there were many, many positives of nationalism. Promotes a sense of identity, unites people, promotes pride in your country. And how to support nationalism and patriotism? Ask not what the nation can do for you. Ask what you can do for your nation. This was said by an American president, John F. Kennedy. But fly the tricolor. Go and vote on the voting day. Support an old person. Support a veteran. Support building of our national parks. There are many, many ways of supporting nationalism and how to make our children and students patriotic. Teach them how to display and handle the flag. Enjoy doing a parade. Tell them. Visit a history museum of the country. Pay your respects to national symbols. Tell them. Develop a sense of belonging of the people of the country towards their nation. Pride in speaking your mother tongue. When we go abroad and foreigners come to India, you see in a hotel in the evening, even over their dinner and drinks, they start singing their national songs. I was posted in Russia. It was a great pride for us that in social evenings, we all used to sing Indian Hindi songs like of Avara movie. For example, the Russians were very proud of it. I mean, they used to look up to India on many counts. So there are many ways to promote nationalism, or to show the love of our country. We can read narratives and stories, tell tales about patriotic allegiance of our country, of our heroes, of our people who have been part of the freedom struggle. Tell stories to others about our military martyrs. Wear patriotic colors like the way I'm wearing today. Celebrate national holidays even when you are posted in foreign lands, and things like that. So with these few initial remarks about the subject, which is of our session, Infusing Spirit of Nationalism and the Challenges of and the Initiatives, I hand you back.
Sir, thank you very much for your lovely views. And we are so proud that you have created that sense of enthusiasm, and it can be seen in your personality and as well as in your attire. Now, I will request Zafar Sareshwala, a very prominent personality, who's owner of the Persoli Corporation and has been a chancellor of Maulana Azad University. He's a highly learned person who's known in the literary circles. So I can comfortably call him as an academic as well as a corporate leader. Now, let's have his views on how nationalism, though India has been displaying muscular nationalism, it was seen during this Ladakh intrusion. In various other areas, it has been shown, even in the Russia-Ukraine war, when America was trying to use some coercive diplomacy, our Honorable Prime Minister had comfortably conveyed that, yes, we are not going to change our stance. Even if you want to put sanctions on us, so be it. So that shows India's status and stature. Over to you, Zafar Saab. Let's hear from you. What are your views? आपके तासुरात क्या हैं इसके ऊपर, और किस तरह से जो पोस्टैरिटी है, जो यंगस्टर्स हैं, वो इसको इम्बाइब कर सकते हैं? Zafar Saab.
Thank you so much.
Madhav sir, we'll come back to you.
Yeah. Nalpat Saab is my elder, so and I have
Well,
our highest regards for him.
thank you.
Yeah. Well, I've been traveling outside India for almost more than 30 years now. And I've seen how India was viewed and Indians were viewed. So there has been a seismic change happening in last couple of years, but a very visible change has happened outside. I mean, I have no doubts about that. After 2014, Mr. Narendra Modi embarked a different level of recognition for Indians. And after that also I've been visiting, and particularly the Gulf countries. I mean, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Kuwait, most of these countries, even Russia. I'll come to the Ukraine-Russian war also. So there has been a visible change amongst the authorities in those countries, even in the US. I mean, I've seen the moment you get into the US immigration, there's a change. This blue passport makes change even in the eyes of the immigration officer in American, immigration counter. So that has happened. And for that, you have to give marks to Mr. Modi right from the first visit, because uh, I've been with him in first 8 or 9 visits. And in every visit, right from Japan, Australia, and the America, the first visits which he did in 2014, in every visit, he made a very concentrated effort to address the Indian diaspora. So, and then, when you are in America or you are in Japan, you are in Australia, and then it went on till now, as recently as when he went to the Scandinavian countries. So that gives a sense of belonging to the Indian population there. And also the Indians get a stature in the eyes of people there, the government of those respective countries. So that, I would not say muscular nationalism, but I would say the soft power of India. And yes, it has built over the past so many years. I mean, it has been building since last 30, 35 years, and more so in last 15, 20 years, ever since the IT revolution has happened in India. So in any country you go now, the top IT of that country is taken care of by Indians there, or by some company or the offices of those companies, either in Hyderabad, Pune, or maybe in Bangalore, even in Gandhinagar, in lot of places in India, Pune. So Indians have been part of that in most of these countries. If you take Fortune 500 companies, very recently, Twitter you take, or you take Google, you take Facebook, and some of the top companies in the world, the CEOs are Indians. In universities, for example, you go to Harvard and a lot of other universities in America, in England, top people teaching there, even the dean, are Indians. So Indians have created their position in a lot of places. In fact, recently, the Nobel Prize for Economics again went to an Indian who studied in India in Jawaharlal Nehru University and then there. So Indians have created, first, the Indians who have gone there, the Indians who are taking care of the companies sitting here, and the government initiative, which Mr. Modi has taken. The soft power on one hand. And second, yes, the hard power also. For example, the Indian position in the Russian-Ukrainian war. I had the good fortune to visit Russia only 1.5 months back, when the full war was going on in Russia. I was there. Russia had hosted economic summit with OIC countries, and all those countries were there, and I got a chance to speak in front of the president and also the president of that one state which is called Tatarstan. And I said there on stage that today when I'm seeing people, I think that my prime minister decided something months ago, and I can see that happening here. Means our position, independent of America or the West, what position we took was reflected by the number of people from OIC countries present there. So basically, we took the lead because India took a position in UN and so other places that, look, you have problem with Russia or you have problem with Ukraine, we will deal with Ukraine or Russia the way we want to. Like, for example, we have very good relationship with Saudi Arabia, but we also have very good relationship with Iran also. So India has carved out its own policy on the world stage, and which is now being recognized across the world. Recent reflection of that is in the G7 summit, the Prime Minister of India was given a very high, seat on the world stage. So that is there. But now I want to even talk one more thing before that. See, nationalism is, yes, it should be there. It should be ingrained in our youth right at the outset, at the very young stage. They should be proud of their heritage. They should be proud of their country. This should be instilled. That confidence of being Indian needs to be, drilled in our youth right at the infancy stage. But I also want to say one more thing, that look, nationalism cannot go without patriotism. First, you need to be very patriot. And patriotism also means, respecting the laws of the land, respecting the income tax laws, paying off our taxes, so many other things. So you cannot be a nationalist if you are not patriot. So patriotism, nationalism, both go hand in hand. And yes, that feeling is there. I mean, you can see, that the feel, the Indians who travel now across the world, you can see it is visibly seen on the face of every Indian who now visits outside the country. So that confidence on 3-4 layers is happening. And the way the education system in our country today is, we are taking leadership in lot of places, lot of fields. IT is one, but now we are coming very fast in, the retail sector, the Flipkarts of the world and so many other things, the Zomatos, the Swiggis, lot of new things which are developed in India are taking up across the world, in education also. So we also have now world-class universities in our country. Now, it is more advisable to study in Indian universities than going abroad. So that, tag of having a foreign university degree has reduced unless you have some Ivy League or top universities of UK, London School of Economics, Oxford or Cambridge. Rest, our universities are giving the same level of education or even better than anywhere in the world. So I think the mix of all this has instilled that sense of nationalism in Indian, and this nationalistic fervor is now observed by people there. Now in Russia, I was there for 5 days. I was traveling across. I traveled to at least 3-4 cities. I was moving in Moscow. The moment they saw that, oh, I'm an Indian, they had a different view towards an Indian. That softness in the eyes, that friendliness, even in Dubai. For example, in UAE, in Saudi Arabia, you have Pakistan also, and you have Indians also. Once upon a time, 30 years back, 35 years back, Pakistanis had the upper edge. Now you find Indians. The Indian respect in the eyes of the people there and in the eyes of the administration and the top level in the government is different. Because Mr. Modi, as the Prime Minister, has built personal rapport with most of these world leaders, and that advantage is getting down deep inside to every Indian. So I think in last, if we say about 72, 75 years of our post-independence, this is the best period of being nationalist and to enjoy that nationalism outside and inside. So I think these are my initial words. I can see much intelligent and knowledgeable people than me there in the audience. I think they would be much better than what I have a view. Mine is a very limited view on this. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Zafar Saab. It was nice hearing you. Now we have a very eminent speaker, Professor Madhav Nalpat, uh, who's a known person as far as the academic world is concerned. He holds UNESCO's chair for peace and director of the Department of Geopolitics and International Relations at Manipal University currently. He's editorial director of a TV network India, the Sunday Guardian, vice chairman of Manipal Advanced Research Group. He has been coordinating editor of Times of India and editor of Matrabhumi. Now, what else can you ask for a person who will be, talking to you about nationalism? Because, you see, it is such an important topic. किसी शायर ने बड़ा अच्छा कहा था कि वतन की फिक्र कर नादां, वतन की फिक्र कर नादां, वतन पे कष्ट आने वाला है. So it is these kind of personalities, it is these kind of learned people, it is these kind of patriots who salvage the country out of such crisis situations. Though we have very fine leadership at the top, we have such, academic leaders who are going to shape India into a world power. Of course, we are a regional power. Over to you, sir. Madhav Nalpat, sir.
Thank you very much, and I'm humbled to be present among members of the Indian Armed Forces, because yours is a profession that is willing to put individual lives on the line to protect civilians like myself, and to protect the integrity and to protect the interests of our country. So frankly, I am humbled to be invited, and I'm grateful to Aditya for having invited me. I just want to make a few brief points, because I think Zafar Saab has covered the whole field in excellent detail. The first point, of course, was that we have to understand the totality of Kargil. And in this, at least from my way of thinking, and if you go back to my writings of that period, I think you will see that the same view has been held by me from that time. Essentially, the higher political command had, if I may say so, an excess of trust in our Western neighbor. And it believed, it was not only the current establishment, the establishment that preceded it also had a tremendous excess of trust in our Western neighbor. And so as a consequence, what happened was that the higher command of the military, despite its own best judgments, had to take certain steps regarding withdrawal from some of these, some of these vantage positions. And as a consequence, the trust was, as has happened so many times in the past, betrayed, and the Kargil occupation took place. What saved our country from this? What saved our country from this excess of trust was entirely one thing and one thing only. And that is the brave officers and soldiers of the Indian Armed Forces, and, if I may say so, the brave airmen of the Indian Air Force. Both were under, tremendous amount of constraints, if I may say so. The Air Force especially was under the constraint. They could not enter into Indian territory beyond this, the line of actual control, so to speak, which frankly has never been really recognized or respected by Pakistan. But despite all that, our gallant soldiers, our gallant airmen, they ensured that these treacherous intruders were driven away from the Kargil heights, and completely driven away, so that they were forced to run to President Clinton, and Clinton, of course, tried to get Prime Minister Vajpayee to Washington. Vajpayee ji, having self-respect, refused, and frankly, the Kargil war was over with that particular defeat. So yes, it is Kargil Vijay Diwas. And I want to say that the Kargil war, the battle to recapture Kargil, exemplifies what I've been saying for all my life, frankly, and that is, we are all Indians. exactly as you, friends in the military, I do not go by distinctions of region. I do not go by distinctions of religion. I do not go by societal distinctions. For me, as for the military, we are all Indians. And Kargil proved it. Among the earliest groups to go into conflict, into that particular conflict. And it was a very difficult period for quite some time, if I may say so. The initiative was taken after a huge effort and sacrifice was made. The Naga Regiment, the Jammu and Kashmir Light Infantry. And therefore, we are seeing the truth of this maxim, east or west, north or south, there is one India, and one India that will rise and defend the whole of India. Kargil demonstrated that, and I really wish more and more people understand the significance of Kargil and the significance of East and West, North and South, in the person of the Indian Armed Forces coming together and, basically ensuring victory. I just want to say, before I go on to my last half a minute, that I heard a story at that point in time from some individuals when I was in the Middle East, a visit to the Middle East, and they were saying that the soldiers, the Musharraf soldiers who had occupied the heights, the JKLF, the JKLI, the Jammu and Kashmir Light Infantry, I'm told they were moving up the heights and they were shouting a slogan which was very dear to their hearts. And it was the same slogan which the Pakistan Army was saying, and that slogan is Allahu Akbar. So the Pakistan Army thought, oh, more people from Pakistan are coming. And therefore, before they knew it, they were overpowered and they were taught a lesson that in India, we are all Indians first and we are all patriotic and nationalist Indians. And they got that lesson, and certain heights were secured. And this was ruefully told to me by a Pakistani gentleman who was at that point in time very close to the Pakistan military. I don't know. I don't know what happened to him subsequently. But this is the point I would like to stress. The Kargil War, the Indian Army, the Indian Air Force, the Indian Navy, the uniformed services in India, they exemplify the truth of one India. They exemplify the truth of Indians together. And I think that lesson needs to be taught a little more in textbooks and in lecture halls across the country. The role, for example, of battalions from different parts of India in retaking the Kargil heights at great sacrifice themselves. The last point I want to make, and I don't want to take too long, is that, we talk about nationalism. Zafar Saab has spoken very movingly about patriotism. Let me say that this is a materialistic word. It is not an idealistic word. And let me say that patriotism and nationalism, that is pride in the country, that is nationalism, patriotism, and belief in the country, that is also nationalism and patriotism. That pride and belief helps towards ensuring that people resist the lures of corruption. And this lure can lead you astray in the sense that sacrificing the interests of the country for the selfish interests of oneself. But if you have sufficient pride in your country, that I can assure you will never happen. And therefore, I would like to say that nationalism and patriotism are important for a strong India. It's important for a prosperous India. It's important for a clean India. And yes, I agree with Zafar Saab. Our Prime Minister is working very hard to achieve that. And I do believe that by 2029, by the close of his third term, that magnificent golden goal will be achieved. But for that, patriotism and nationalism is important in every aspect of our lives, including in our family life. We have to treat our family members the way we would expect a country with the pride and tradition of India to treat family members, treat our friends, treat our colleagues, treat everybody in that way. And in this, I would say, Kargil Vijay Diwas is a very, very important component. Therefore, Aditya, I want to thank you for having invited me. I'm not going to impinge on your patience, and so much has been said, so many brilliant things have been said. Allow me to pay my own sincere tribute to the valorous individuals who sacrificed everything for retaking the Kargil heights and for this valorous institutions from which they came from, and also for the wider society that gave them such complete respect, admiration, and backing. Jai Hind, Namaskar.
Jai Hind. Thank you very much, sir. I mean, it was really as expected. It was such a fine, woven words which were put across, and one couldn't have asked anything better. And I'm reminded of a, couplet which says, "Ho gayi hai peer parvat si, ho gayi hai peer parvat si pighalni chahiye, is Himalaya se koi Ganga nikalni chahiye. सिर्फ हंगामा खड़ा करना मेरा मकसद नहीं, सिर्फ हंगामा खड़ा करना मेरा मकसद नहीं, सारी कोशिश है कि ये सूरत बदलनी चाहिए, ये सूरत बदलनी चाहिए." क्योंकि हमें अब देश, देखिए, character of any nation is generally discerned from the kind of national, debates which we have, national discussions which we have. And if we have such kind of discussions, if we have such kind of debates, if we have such kind of thinking, I'm sure, the countries are going to take a cognizance of it, and we can always say proudly, here comes India, and now it is Indian century which is going to unfold.
Thank you. All I want to say, Seedhi baat or sahi baat.
Seedhi
God
baat.
bless you.
Bilkul. And these are very, nice, captions which are, found in the army units, which says Seedhi baat, sahi baat. Very nice, sir. Thank you very much. And it was a very nice way to conclude in a very military-like manner. Because they say, yes, the Indian Army is still the most potent weapon in the state armory. Because whenever this, the nation has been put to any kind of emergencies, we have always risen to the occasion. Now, I will request Supriya Thakur to air her views, because you see, we are a nation which belongs to the youngsters. We are the nation which they are going to write the destiny. So let's hear what are her views about nationalism.
Thank you so much, Brigadier Datta. Am I audible?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, Brigadier Datta, Air Marshal Chopra, Madhav sir, and Sareshwala sir. I genuinely feel it's very difficult to follow these, stalwarts, and they have already said a lot that can be said on the theme. But since I'm here and I have to speak on the theme of infusing the spirit of nationalism, challenges and initiatives. So let me start by talking about the basics. First of all, nation. When we talk about nation, I do not think we can talk about nation without referring to Benedict Anderson's concept of the imagined community. A nation is basically an imagined community that is held together by a set of beliefs. And nationalism per se represents an ideology where people who believe in the existence of that nation and believe that they belong to that one community. It's a sense of belongingness to that particular community and a shared sense. And it kind of unites us with people we haven't met and probably will never met, but still we belong to that one community. And in our context, it is being Indian. We might not meet each other ever again, but we are together and held together by this identity called an Indian. And so there are certain aspects which Ernest Keller talked about, the idea of nationalism and how, what are the constituents of an idea of nationalism. He spoke about 6 factors, basically cultural homogenization, shared formal educational system, central monitoring of polity, linguistic standardization, national identification as abstract community, and cultural similarity as a basis of political legitimacy. Now coming to Indian context, when we talk about nationalism as a theoretical or a conceptual concept, I think it finds its roots it dates back to the French Revolution. But in the context of India, the kind of modern nationalism that we have today, it originated with the colonial struggle in the colonial times when we as Indians from different regions of the subcontinent united against the colonial forces. So where we are today, there are certain challenges, to the kind of nationalism that we have today. And what are those challenges? So one of the challenges that I do feel are the aggressive subnationalist sentiments that exist. And subnationalist, sentiments aren't bad, so to say, but when they get aggressive and leads to secessionist tendencies, they are really bad. So they do pose a major challenges to the nationalism as we have today. Apart from that, inequitable development, where certain regions have benefited more than the other regions and have led certain communities feeling alienated and disempowered in certain sense. That is another challenge. The third challenge would be the nationalism which is top down versus the bottoms up nationalism. What I mean to say by this, we as society cannot be told, this is the kind of nationalism you follow in very outrightly way. We have to give it like you give pill to a dog. You have to hide it in a lot of things. And as Althusser would call them, ideological state apparatuses. So for instance, we have education. You have to inculcate these values in people by creating a proper infrastructure. For instance, proper schooling, giving them proper social security, which will ensure that people themselves feel, proud to be part of a particular society, which I do think exists quite a lot in Indian society. And that itself is a testament to the fact that we are doing well and we are on a right path. And fourthly, another challenge that we do have to our nationalism and our patriotism is the political propaganda that tries to polarize society based on caste, region, religion, and language identities. So these were the challenges. Now the initiatives that we can take to, celebrate the nationalism, the different nationalism that we have in India. So India is a very plural democracy, and we cannot say, we can have a homogenization, so to say. We cannot. We are a very plural society, and instead of trying to homogenize everything, we have to accept our differences and in fact celebrate them. And we have found it with the help of our constitution and the far-sightedness of constitution makers, who left a lot of space in the constitution so that we could evolve over the years. And the pluralistic nationalism that we do have today continues to exist. Also, a more equitable regional and plural development will serve very well to the idea of nationalism, and providing social security and infrastructure which is conducive to nurturing the feeling of nationalism among its citizens. And government has done a lot of great things. For instance, Ek Bharat Shresth Bharat Abhiyan is an exemplary example of this, under which a lot of awareness and cultural programs are organized quite often. Plus example of something like Buddhist circuit, where all the Buddhist sites in the country are united and connected. So this is wonderful. And I think we have a wonderful constitution, which is a testament as well as a guiding lamppost that we can always go back to whenever we feel, we are not on the track, or our nationalism or our patriotism is dwindling in any sense. And surely education and mobilizing the youth without any doubt remains one of the crucial components of, infusing the spirit of nationalism, so to say. And we in India have traditionally believed in the concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. We are we are a society that has welcomed all the beliefs, that has celebrated them, and that has nurtured them and evolved with it. So I think we should be proud of the place that we have reached today. And as an Indian, I'm very proud and I'm grateful that I was given this opportunity to speak today. So thanks to all the organizers, and Jai Hind. Thank you.
Thank you, Supriya. It was nice hearing you. And, at least we know that the country is in safe hands when you are going to lead from various spheres. And they always say that the nation belongs to you. The nation belongs to young Turks. Even the Kargil war, you see, right from the morning we have been discussing. It was a victory of the young leaders. It was the grit and determination of these young leaders. It was, you see, we were equipment critical. We were, critical on various, we were at lower heights. But these youngsters, by their determination, by their act of bravery, they could turn the tables. The operation, Badr was very well planned. It was so very planned. Their sanghas, their logistic. It was when the Muntho Dhalo went, their back was broken. And that was the turning point as far as the Kargil operation is concerned. Now, what nation requires is what is called as the flexible geometry. We have to be firm yet flexible. I'll just give you two examples. When Kashmir was being discussed, when Article 370 was abrogated, America wanted to intervene. Pakistan requested America that you must intervene. And America also expressed their keenness in discussing this issue. India very confidently and surely told them that it is a bilateral issue, we can handle it. In Ukraine, Russia also, I just gave you an example. India very comfortably said that we are capable of looking after our affairs. One of the country had made a statement that India is still a baby, as far as international diplomacy is concerned. But let me tell that nation that yes, we may be baby as per his perception, but we are not dwarfs, because most of the countries have reached a stage of dwarfishness because they are not going to grow. We are still growing. The babies are going to be tomorrow's leaders. Now, another thing what we are doing is that we are regulating the international cholesterol. I mean, people have reached the choke points, whereas we are still ticking, we are still rising, we are on an upward trajectory. So that is what is very, very important. We have policies and frameworks. We are not policy orphans. We are looking up. People are looking up. America is looking to us. Now, America wants, a lot of alliances with India. So that speaks volumes of our leadership. It speaks volumes of the contribution of our countrymen. I mean, whether चाहे आप प्रधान हैं या प्रधानमंत्री हैं, आपका contribution इस देश के लिए उतना ही जरूरी है जितना एक अहम और मुअज़्ज़ज़ शहरी के लिए है. Now, I'm going to request Shri Jitendra Tikku from ONGC to just air his views, and then I'll come to Junaid Hashmi to you. So kindly don't go away. Mr. Jitendra Tikku.
Good evening, everybody. It is a pleasure. I was not able to join in the morning session. I had some very previous engagements. I'm joining this group for the first time on the request of Aditya ji. This session actually on security is very critical for our country, not only because of the proximity of different nations, but because of the I should say the oil geopolitics that is going on. Oil geopolitics has been controlling the politics of the world in different formats, whether it is small wars or something. You are all aware of these details of the various countries that they have fought based on the oil. So oil security is very critical because that can bring us to the forefront somewhere in the future when the requirements increase, or whether our requirements or somebody else's requirements increase and there is a deficit somewhere. So I would not say much in this forum at the moment, but yes, there are certainly concerns, and I think we can address them as a nation because we are a very young nation now, although I am not that young. but nevertheless, we are a young nation and we can definitely come ahead. And as Sir said, that we are not deprived of any policies. We have some very good policies in place, and these policies will certainly keep us in the forefront of the entire world. And I look forward to interacting with you more frequently. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jitenji. It is very sweet of you that you could make it despite your such a busy schedule. And it was really, worth listening to your inputs. Now, I will request Syed Junaid Hashmi. I mean, he has been waiting for quite some time. Who's a media personality, who's the MD of Straight Line News. May I request you to kindly give your views as far as nationalism is concerned?
Hello.
Yeah, Junaid.
जी आई एम सॉरी, मैं एक्चुअली थोड़ा लेट आप लोगों के साथ ज्वाइन किया। तो पहली बात तो ये कि मैं सभी लोगों को सुन रहा था, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया, और बड़ी सारी खूबसूरत बातें सुनने को मिली। लेकिन मैं दो तीन चीजें पॉइंट आउट करूंगा। एक तो सबसे बड़ी बात आपने कहा कि राष्ट्रवाद, जब राष्ट्रवाद की परिभाषा या राष्ट्रवाद की डेफिनेशन की बात आती है, तो मेरा जाती तौर पर ये मानना है कि राष्ट्रवाद की भावना किसी के अंदर पैदा करना, या हम सोचेंगे कि हम इन्फ्यूज कर सकते हैं किसी तरीके से, तो मेरा अपना जाती तौर पर ये मानना है कि आप राष्ट्रवाद की भावना किसी के अंदर इन्फ्यूज नहीं कर सकते हैं। वो जब जिस राष्ट्र में आप रहते हैं, जिस देश में आप रहते हैं, वहाँ का कानून, वहाँ की कानून व्यवस्था, वहाँ का रहन सहन, जिन लोगों के साथ आप उठते बैठते हैं, जिन लोगों के साथ आप विचार विमर्श करते हैं, वो आहिस्ता आहिस्ता आपके अंदर जो राष्ट्रवाद की भावना पैदा करते हैं। और ये भी है कि जिस घर परिवार में आप रहते हैं, उस घर परिवार का माहौल कैसा है, जिस लोकेलिटी में आप रहते हैं उस लोकेलिटी का माहौल कैसा है, आपके सोचने का तरीका क्या है, आपके सोचने का अंदाज क्या है। मैं जाती तौर पे ये मानता हूं कि हम भारतीयों के सोचने का अंदाज अब बदलने लगा है। हमारा देखिए, सबसे अनफॉर्चुनेट चीज ये कि जिस देश में 1947 में सभी लोगों को वोट डालने का अधिकार मिला, उस देश में सेल्फ कॉन्फिडेंस जो है वो 2002 के बाद आना शुरू हुआ, और प्रखर रूप से वो सेल्फ कॉन्फिडेंस और पूरे विश्व को इस समय नजर आ रहा था, वो 2014 के बाद नजर आने लगा है। उसका कारण ये भी है कि देश में एक सरकार है, जो सरकार जो है हर एक चीज को, ठीक है, जो चीजें कल तक पर्दे के पीछे भी हुआ करती थी, वो भी आज कैमरे के ऊपर है। वो कैमरे की आंख से पूरी दुनिया देख रही है, उसका पब्लिक डिस्प्ले होता है, वो सरकार कर रही है। लेकिन वो चीजें होने लगी हैं। मगर इम्पोर्टेंट ये है कि जिस देश में आपको वोट डालने का अधिकार 1947 में मिला, जिस देश में वर्ग के नाम पर, धर्म के नाम पर, जाति के नाम पर, रंग भेद, इन सब चीजों के नाम पर कोई डिस्क्रिमिनेशन लोगों के साथ किए बगैर सबको वोट डालने का अधिकार 1947 में दे दिया गया, जिस देश में एबॉर्शन की राइट्स, अभी अमेरिका में बहुत बड़ा डिबेट छिड़ गया है एबॉर्शन की राइट्स के ऊपर, लेकिन आप अपने देश में देख लें कि हमारा सुप्रीम कोर्ट एबॉर्शन को लेकर क्या कहता है, हमारे हाई कोर्ट एबॉर्शन को लेकर क्या कहते हैं। उसके बाद कई चीजें मैं गिनवा सकता हूँ। 1971 में जो मेरी जानकारी उसके मुताबिक अमेरिका में आपने जो ब्लैक्स थे उनको वोट देने का अधिकार दिया। हमारे यहाँ तो इस तरह का कोई पक्षपात था नहीं। हमारे यहाँ भी अलग अलग तरह की बीमारियां थी, परेशानियां थी। वो जाहिर सी बात है, जो देश 1000 साल गुलाम रहेगा, 1000 साल के बाद जो देश आजाद होगा, उस देश में तो बीमारियां रहेंगी, परेशानियां रहेंगी। कुछ मुगलों के दौर में बीमारियां आई, उसके बाद कुछ बीमारियां जो है वो अंग्रेज छोड़कर चले गए। आज जो ये धार्मिक उत्पात पूरे देश में, उसका एक कारण ये भी है ना, अंग्रेज छोड़कर चले गए ये सब कुछ। अब इस समय ये है कि राष्ट्रवाद की भावना, जैसे मैंने आपको कहा कि आप कहाँ से आते हैं, आपकी अपब्रिंगिंग कैसी है, आप किस तरह के वातावरण में रहते हैं, कानून आपको क्या महसूस कराता है, सरकार आपको क्या महसूस कराती है, ये सारी चीजें एक साथ मिलकर जो है आपके अंदर अपने देश के प्रति कॉन्फिडेंस, अपने देश को लेकर सोचना और अपने देश को लेकर सजग रहने की वो आपके अंदर जो भावना पैदा करते हैं। मैं अभी देख रहा था कि कुछ लोगों ने कुछ चीजें कही, मैं कुछ चीजें पॉइंट आउट करना चाहूंगा। पहली बात तो ये कि एज अ मुसलमान मैं बड़ा हैरान होता था कि जब हम इस्लाम की बात करते हैं, कुरान की बात करते हैं, हदीस की बात करते हैं, तो हज पे जाना ये एक बहुत बड़ी शहादत की बात है। लेकिन हमारे यहाँ हज हमारा सब्सिडाइज था। सरकार आई, सरकार ने एक फैसला लिया और हज के ऊपर सब्सिडी खत्म की। उस एक फैसले ने कुछ किया हो या ना किया हो, लेकिन मुसलमानों को बाकी तमाम धर्मों के साथ लाकर खड़ा कर दिया। नंबर 2 चीज, और भी अन्य कई और स्टेप्स जो है वो गवर्नमेंट ने उठाए हैं जिससे डेफिनेटली राष्ट्रवाद की भावना, जैसे मिसाल के तौर पे अभी एक ये पिछले दिनों एक कैंपेन शुरू हुआ है, हर घर तिरंगा। हर घर तिरंगा कैंपेन ये है कि ठीक है जी, आप गर्व के साथ अपने घर की छत पे तिरंगा जो है लहरा सकते हैं। ये ऐसा नहीं है कि क्या कहते हैं, इस तिरंगा सिर्फ सरकारी बिल्डिंगों के ऊपर लहराने के लिए, वो भी एक अच्छी स्कीम है। उसके अलावा जो माइनॉरिटीज के लिए जितनी स्कॉलरशिप स्कीम्स थी, जो बाकी सारी स्कीम्स थी, वो रेगुलरिटी और पंक्चुअलिटी के साथ जो है माइनॉरिटीज को मिल रही है। लेकिन जहां तक राष्ट्रवाद की भावना लोगों के अंदर पैदा करने का ताल्लुक है, मेरा जाती तौर पर ये मानना है, सभी समुदायों को, सभी वर्गों को, सभी धर्म के लोगों को धर्म से पहले देश, इस चीज को प्रायोरिटाइज करना चाहिए। और ये चीज जितनी ज्यादा पढ़ाई जाए और जितनी ज्यादा लोगों को बताई जाए, मुझे लगता है दैट इज वन वे ऑफ इन्फ्यूजिंग पेट्रियोटिज्म इन एवरी कंट्रीमैन। दैट इज, आई थिंक दैट इज वन वे। तो बाकी चूंकि मैंने आपको कहा कि दिस इज अ स्ट्रेटेजिक अफेयर एंड देयर आर लॉट्स ऑफ द पीपल हु हैव इन डेप्थ नॉलेज अबाउट दीज थिंग्स, सो आई वुड लीव इट up to them, what is their point of view, because as a journalist मैं तो जानना ही चाहूंगा कि क्या चीजें हैं जो राष्ट्रवाद की भावना पैदा कर सकती हैं। लेकिन कुछ चीजें हैं, जैसे मैंने आपको बोला, इक्वालिटी बिफोर लॉ। इक्वालिटी बिफोर लॉ का मतलब यह है कि कानून का जब आप इस्तेमाल करना शुरू करें तो आपके कानून के इस्तेमाल से किसी भी देश के व्यक्ति को यह महसूस न हो कि ये कानून जब किसी और के लिए अलग है और मेरे लिए अलग है। ये जो भावना इंसान के अंदर आती है, इसमें आप देशभक्त तो रहते हैं, लेकिन जिस वक्त देश को आपकी जरूरत पड़ेगी, उस वक्त आप जो है हिचकिचाएंगे, क्योंकि आप जानते हैं कि कानून जब इम्प्लीमेंट किया जा रहा है, ये दो अलग अलग लोगों के लिए दो अलग अलग तरीकों से किया जा रहा है, ये बिल्कुल नहीं होना चाहिए। दूसरा, पक्षपात की भावना पक्षपात किसी को महसूस नहीं होना चाहिए, किसी भी तरह का पक्षपात जो है वो किया जा रहा है। तीसरा सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट जो इस समय किया भी जा रहा है, जो बार बार प्रधानमंत्री भी जिसको रिट्रेट करते रहते हैं, वो कहते हैं भाई इक्वालिटी, अपॉर्चुनिटी फॉर ऑल, इक्वालिटी फॉर ऑल। आप किस धर्म से, किस समुदाय से, मैटर नहीं करता, सबके लिए बराबर अपॉर्चुनिटी है। किसी आदमी को प्रायोरिटाइज नहीं किया जाएगा, लेकिन किसी को डिस्क्रिमिनेट भी नहीं किया जाएगा। इन प्रैक्टिस चीजें नजर आनी चाहिए, ग्राउंड पर नजर आनी चाहिए। और उसके बाद जब आप सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट मैंने आपको बोला, जो आज दृश्य पूरे देश से देखने को मिलते हैं, उसमें जो कानून की इम्प्लीमेंटेशन है, मेरा फोकस उसी पर है कि वो जब इम्प्लीमेंट होने लगे, वो किसी के बीच में डिस्क्रिमिनेट न करे, कि आप लाठी उठाएं, डंडा चलाएं, तो सबके लिए बराबर बराबर जो है वो होना चाहिए। That is all what I would say.
Thank you, Junaid. Thank you very much. It was really very nice that you put across your views. And being a person related with media, I'm sure you were quite candid in your views, and you had conveyed it very nicely. I think we have come to end of this session. It was really very nice to listening various views on nationalism. And I just want to say that Pakistan has tried a large number of misadventures right from 1948 till Kargil. मैं पाकिस्तान को एक यही सीख देना चाहता हूँ, ये कन्वे करना चाहता हूँ अपने एक छोटे से कपलेट से। पाकिस्तान को ये बिल्कुल साफ और वाज़ेह हो जाना चाहिए कि तुमने हर खेत में इंसान के सर बोए हैं, तुमने हर खेत में इंसान के सर बोए हैं, जब जमीन खून उगल रही है तो हैरत क्यों है? क्योंकि इफ यू हैव इनिशिएटेड ऑल दीज ऑपरेशंस और फिर जब आपको मुंह की खानी पड़ती है, तब आपको इतना एम्बैरेसमेंट या इस तरह की जो चीजें हैं वो क्यों होती हैं? एंड फाइनली, before we conclude, I would like to say that, you see, in the Kargil memorial, there are very nice lines which are written, which says, "Scattered in the dust, silent I remain. When Indian bugle calls, I will rise again." That is the ethos on which the Indian Army, the martyrs, the soldiers, they work. They will rise if there is an occasion. Everybody is a soldier. Everybody is a soldier, whether he's wearing whatever color uniform or he's in plain in civilian clothes. People have risen. What General Bhatia had said in 1971, even we had seen as a small kid, that 1962 में जब भारत को इक्विपमेंट और इस तरह के हथियारों की आवश्यकता थी, 258 किलो सोना इकट्ठा किया था, और उसमें से पंजाब की महिलाओं का इतना योगदान था कि उसमें से करीब 248 केजी सोना उन्होंने अपने गहने, अपने कड़े, लोगों ने गोल्ड मेडल्स, सब जवाहरलाल नेहरू जी की आवाज पे देश को दे दिए और कहा कि देश को आगे लड़ना चाहिए। तो इस तरह का जो नेशनल जज्बा है, इस तरह का जो जुनून है, वो भारतीयों में ही देखा जाता है, एंड वी ऑलवेज राइज टू द ओकेशन। नाउ सिंस वी आर कमिंग टू अ कंक्लूडिंग स्टेज, now I will request General Rakesh Sharma. I hold him in very high regard. I'm telling you, if there is any person who can be called general in the real term, it is General Rakesh Sharma. If I read his achievements, I know he's going to, with his eyes, he's telling me, no, sir, I will take this liberty now. He's a PhD. He's a thinking general. He's been Adjutant General of the Indian Army, which is a very, very challenging task. He has commanded the Fire and Fury Corps, the Ladakh, and there is no other person who knows that terrain so well. I have heard him so many times. I have read his articles. I have seen him interacting at various national and international forums where he knows each and every fold of that terrain. And he explains in a very, very simple terms. He has been a soldier who has served in all kind of terrain. He has commanded a battalion in Northeast. He's commanded a brigade in the Western sector. He has commanded a division in J&K. And you name a thing, he has done it. Now I will request him to kindly conclude this day-long sessions, and I'm sure we are going to enjoy it. And mark my word, कलम और दवात दोनों आप साथ रखिए, कागज नजदीक हो, या अगर सेल फोन पे लिखना चाहें, क्योंकि डिजिटल इंडिया है, तो आप वहां भी लिख सकते हैं। हर वर्ड एक मोती की तरह होगा। Over to you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brigadier Datta. Thank you, Aditya. And I'd say, VK, if you had written my CR earlier in time, I would have risen higher in life. That you didn't have the privilege, it's a great loss to me. What a great day today, and all these discussions. And, last I couldn't see the whole thing. I couldn't hear the whole thing, but whatever I heard is a great honor. Now, Brigadier Datta had spoken about some youth speaking, but youth is a state of mind. Just to tell him that hum bhi young hai, aur meko couplet to nahi aata hai, but I know, when you start talking about young people, old are also young. Young is a state of mind. I am greatly taken in by this issue of patriotism and nationalism today in the discussion that happened. And, it raises a lot of emotions in me as to क्या एक ही चीज है, क्या दोनों चीजें एक ही हैं, क्या हम एक ही चीज की बात कर रहे हैं, patriotism and nationalism? There are differences that we don't bother about. I think a difference between a customer and a consumer, or difference between a nation and a country. So that's the difference between patriotism and nationalism. क्या दोनों synonym है? क्या हमको उन दोनों को पर्यायवाची की तरह बोलना चाहिए? That ism is nothing but a school of thought. To me, patriotism actually refers to my love for my country. It's the end all for my willingness to sacrifice my life for this nation, for the country. Nationalism is not this. The राष्ट्रवाद जो हम बोल रहे हैं, राष्ट्रवाद जिसकी बात है, एक राष्ट्रवाद है, एक देश प्रेम है, देशभक्ति है। राष्ट्रवाद और देश प्रेम या देशभक्ति एक ही चीज नहीं है. They're separate issues. So nationalism refers to national identity. This is what the problem of Pakistan is. They don't have a national identity. एक उनकी nation की moorings नहीं है, foundation नहीं है. So that's why they lack the issue of nationalism. So that there are differences. So what I want to say is that's a literal meaning, but we tend to use the terms as if they are synonymous to each other. In Indian context, both of them, I feel, hold good. Otherwise, how would certain academicians cite Hitler and say that nationalism resulted in Holocaust? Which means nationalism was not good. If it resulted in Holocaust in the times of in the 1930s and 1940s. I would like to be patriotic. In that, there's that devotion and love that I have for my country. In my country's people, country's principles. It's equally important to understand that these principles are enshrined in a constitution. What does Vijay Diwas mean to us? It does mean that we recapture the heights of Kargil. We had 526 people who gave ultimate sacrifice. Do we Indians take the freedom for granted? How do we define patriotism in India? Is it only 15 August or 26 January? Is patriotism means कि यार जब हम क्रिकेट जीते हैं पाकिस्तान में we are being patriotic? या शेरशाह मूवी देखी या चक दे मूवीज देखी तो बोलता patriotic है? Or when we play national anthem and stand up and we say Janban Gan and we that is we patriotic. या जब नीरज चोपड़ा गोल्ड जीतता है ओलंपिक्स में सिल्वर और सिल्वर मेडल, that's patriotic. या मैं जब लता मंगेशकर का गाना सुनता हूँ आज भी है मेरे वतन के लोगों, is that patriotism in me? क्या वो मेरे को मेरी देश प्रेम की भावना जगाता है? Patriotism, देशभक्ति matters immensely. This is a sentiment that keeps a country together. It's irrespective of the type of spheres you have, the diversity you have. मिलिट्री का ये राज नहीं है पेट्रियोटिज्म, ये हमारा अपना नहीं है, मिलिट्री का नहीं है पेट्रियोटिज्म. इट्स अ मिलिट्री इज अ माइक्रोकॉस्म ऑफ द इंडियन सोसाइटी. मैं 3 मेजर बातें कहना चाहूंगा. पहली बात, patriotism of ancient India is qualitatively different than the patriotism of modern India. They are 2 separate issues. In ancient India, we were ruled by communities and few social groups. There was a Gupta period, there was a Mughal period. Post-independence, the social structure changed. And it is changing. Our social structure is changing. We are becoming aspirational in nature. So, modern India, the basic character of the state is as enshrined in the constitution, means everybody is equal. Every nation state in India has its own national loyalties. Understandably. आप पाकिस्तान में देख लीजिए, पश्तून है, आधे से ज्यादा पाकिस्तान में रहते हैं, आधे से ज्यादा बाकी अफगानिस्तान में रहते हैं. पश्तून है, both sides of Durand line. There is a Pashtun nationhood. There is a Pashtun nationalism. But there is no Pashtun patriotism. देशभक्ति है ही नहीं. Because देश कौन सा? क्या वो अफगानिस्तान से प्यार करते हैं कि पाकिस्तान से प्यार करते हैं? तभी वली खान ने बोला था कि मैं 2000 साल से पश्तून हूं, पर मैं पाकिस्तानी तो सिर्फ 50 साल से हूं. That's the difference between nationhood and patriotism. And Pashtuns give the right answer to this one. Difference lies in the affinity that a person has to the modern state. It's not based on kinship. मैं पंजाबी, मैं Bengali, मैं Tamil, मैं Kannada. That is not the basis of nationalism, patriotism. It doesn't mean families or tribes or Hindu or Muslim or Sikhs and Isais. Patriotism is the idea of India, and it is central institution, the state. That is patriotism. Patriotism is not only for Indians, it's also for Indians who reside in India. Patriotism is also for Indians who reside outside India. That's the larger Indian community, the diaspora far and wide. They are also Deshbhakt like we are Deshbhakt. Second issue, India has different foundations and subnationalities and religions and caste and creed. And modern India gives you guarantees for all genders or all types of people all over the country. The state's legitimacy, जो हमारा the state का जो law and order है, legitimacy rights in satisfying all components and all communities and all interests, as was rightly pointed out by my previous speaker, that they are irrespective of the differentiation an individual have, or a community have, or a state have, or a language have. There is an appeal on the word India, the pyar of India. That's, I think, patriotism. So in all these groups coming together and giving strength to India, in India and globally, that is what is Desh Bhakti all about. It is the strength that welds this heterogeneous population of India into a common thread. Modern India tends to seek a balance between the attraction and loyalty of its people. Third is the issue and most important, armed forces. And we are here today to remember the armed forces and the great valor that they showed in capturing. I commanded that corps. जहां पे आज भी जाओ तो लगता है कि हमारे फौजी इतनी हाइट में चढ़े थे और उन्होंने कैप्चर किया. Great. A soldier, a sailor, an airman defines the essence of the love for the country. For many of them, this is a calling. People are 4 generations, 5 generations. It is a calling that he has. I have to join the armed forces. For some, it will be a job also. कोई तनख्वाह के लिए भी काम करते होंगे. That is why 30 लाख लोग आते हैं हर साल 60,000 लोगों की भर्ती के लिए. क्यों आते हैं? It's there. Some come for money. Some it is love for India. It's because the tradition there. There is a dishonorable way of looking at armed forces as a only employment and remuneration. No, sir. There is love, and the love comes up after he joins and he becomes part and parcel of our society, the armed forces society. That society makes it. The training, the education, the cohesion. That is why 2 men going together, left and right, supporting each other, climbing up to Tiger Hill and throwing the Pakis out and, giving optimal sacrifice, ultimate sacrifice. That is a love that you have for the nation, not for that small hill or that hill that exists. That emotional bonding, the emotional bonding between man and man of the armed forces is the primary motivating factor in combat. Soldiers remain loyal to unit cohesion, then become that leads to national patriotism. They never let down their comrades at all. It doesn't matter which community a soldier belongs to you. It doesn't matter at all. It's life and death. It's the cohesion between these people that leads to patriotism. So Indian armed forces value this system that matters. That system makes us win war after war, insurgency after insurgency, so stoically and so well. So patriotism is inherent in India. And all these days, 15 August, 26 January, Vijay Diwas, ab Kargil Diwas, Diwali, Eid, Chhat Puja, Gurpurab, Christmas, Onam, they all are symbols of telling us that it is a love for our country. They are all around, these symbols are all around us and they cannot be ignored. That's a change structure of patriotism in India. And this is what patriotism means to everybody in practice. Modern patriotism is based on these symbols that we have today. Today, the Kargil Diwas is one more symbol of the spirit of patriotism that leads to the spirit of nationalism. Prime Minister ne bola tha ek baar, my patriotism, and Prime Minister Modi had said, my patriotism is subservient to my religion. I cling to India like a child to his mother's breast because I feel she gives me the spiritual nourishment I need. India, she has the environment that responds to my highest aspirations. So fine words to put across about patriotism in India. So I will end here by saying patriotism is premised on the inclusive love that we have for people. The Rashtra Bhakti, the Rashtra Prem, it's a commitment to our integral welfare. It's a non-inclusive love for India and is premised on self-confidence and openness to all other countries without fear and suspicion. For that, patriotism leads us to that end to say, okay, Chinese are there, fine, dekh lenge. It's the inclusive basis of our society. We walk together. And this again, I will quote Prime Minister Modi saying, we walk together, we move together, we think together, we resolve together, and together we take this country forward. That, I think, is the epitome of what I say is patriotism is all about. Now, I am also honored to sum up the today's happenings. And it's a very fine evening. It rained today, so it's a good wine. It's my privilege as member of the EC of the GCTC to thank on behalf of GCTC our co-partners ONGC, NTPC, and LIC for supporting a program meant for a national cause. Without their support, it wouldn't have been possible or a success. And as you know, today is a very special day for us. Not only that we are speaking and saluting with our hearts the valiant soldiers of the Kargil war, but also the family members who survived, who have suffered so much, having lost their loved ones, the martyrs. I'm sure that the valor and the sacrifice of those who left us has given us great warmth in us. My special thanks must go to Brigadier Vijay Datta, whom I know for a very long time. And I wish I could give a long speech about his great contribution in service and out of service and afterwards to the context of Indian nationalism and Indian patriotism. And VK, I salute you. You're doing fantastic work and you keep doing it. You have been a master of ceremony. By God, I did not know you are poetic by nature. You could have taken Sidhu by storm. Yeah. And then you also now laugh like a Sidhu. So I have a great pleasure, VK, to see you comparing the whole thing and doing it so well. Thank you very much. Your insights gave us a great thought process into Kargil war. And I think also we must thank the patron of our institution, GCTC, Dr. Shekhar Dutt, and Rear Admiral Dr. Santanam Kulshrestha for all their kind words on the auspicious occasion. And of course, we must thank Barkha Dutt. She had a beautiful coverage of the event earlier in the Kargil war, which we remember so fondly. She did fantastic time across there. And reportage was, it became history. In fact, it told us that future wars are this. You can't hide a bit. So all these journalists who did fantastic work in Kargil war actually became the strength of the defense forces in times to come. They keep tapping us. They keep telling us to theek nahi kar rahe ho, which is a very good thing because that brings us forward. GCTC also thanks General KJ Singh, General Satish Dua, Shri Mudassir Dar, and Mr. Kartikeya Sharma for speaking on the program and contributing the valuable insights into the Kargil Diwas today. Lieutenant General Hasnain, who great respect for him, Mrs. Gayatri Gopal, Mr. Yesvi enlightened us on the perspective of the current world that we are living in. Disinformation is the biggest menace that we have. Mrs. Padma Joshi moderated it so well, bringing the issues about the media and the journalism up in this one. And General Philip Campos, who I have great amount of respect for answering difficult question, why did India win the Kargil war? And his words are worth noting and worth remembering. There was Major Amit Bansal, whose conversation with Mr. Colonel B.N. Thapar, whom again I know well, Mr. Akhil Pratap, Ms. Alka Huja, Ms. Shrimati Meena Nair, and Sayyid Salman Chishti shared the emotional moments about the Kargil war. And the outpouring came from their hearts. Their words still will echo us when times to come for quite some time. The whole country is proud of their, to have these, nurture the values and the respect that we have for the brave hearts and which people remember so fondly today. We also had Shri Shashank, Vinod Bhatia, Ms. Pratibha Punia, Mr. Vijay Bhatt, and Sayyid Junaid Hasmi coming forward to share their roles of citizens in the conflictual situations. And of course, no program will be without the cultural ambitions embedded in it. We thank Sri Shankar Soni for creating the fire that was required for this particular occasion. Without the spirit of leaving the patriotism and nationalism apart, I must thank Haji Sayyid for his kind words, and also Air Marshal Anil Chopra, Mr. Zafar Sirishwala, Sayyid Hashmi, Mr. Supriya Thakur, and Professor M.D. Nalpat. What a fantastic speech given by, or talk given by Professor Nalpat, which every word was measured, every word was so very nicely put across, as always. Professor does in his own inimitable way. He puts across things in such fine manner. And thank you, all of you. Again, VK, sorry, VK, Brigadier Datta, abhi muh pe chadta nahi hai. We have known VK for so long, and Vicky, as you call it, for moderating the system of the entire session, and so good, sir. 30 odd speakers. I do not know how my friend Aditya manages to get 30, 35 people together and speak whole day. And by God, hats off to him. It is beyond our intellectual capacity to understand as to how does he do all this. Let me also congratulate Mrs. Palak Shah and Mr. Bhargav for coordinating the program of the GCTC. The energy was seamless right through the program. And finally, the viewers. It won't be worth it if they were not the viewers and if there was no participation at all. Because finally, it's the viewers who are our experts, who actually imbibe into what we are saying. And they engage with us till the end. Last and not the least, if I forget Aditya Tikku, next time will not call me. So I must thank Aditya Tikku for inviting me today as a convener of GCTC and being very persuasive in how he manages all this. Thank you, and thank you everybody else. If I forgot anybody's names, haath jod ke maafi karta hu. Please pardon me for not including Sankalp. I see you here. Thank you, Sankalp. And to everybody else, and to Teresa, and to Jitendra, and to everybody else, and Brigadier Panwar, who I saw in the screen, and half of Aditya that I see today in the video, and only half of it is visible, the other half is not visible. May I conclude the 23rd Kargil Vijay Diwas with salutations to our brave martyrs who laid down their lives on this great occasion. We salute them, and having visited most of these posts and seen the sanghas, it is unimaginable as to the kind of vagaries they have gone through. It is a day for us to remember that conventional war is not going anywhere. It is there to stay. The last two wars, Nagorno-Karabakh and this one, Ukraine war, prove it. We have uncontested borders. We have disputed borders. We have our adversaries sitting across there. We have to be mindful of the fact and prepare, sirs, ladies and gentlemen, for a modern war, not a past war. That is the learning we must take from the 23rd Kargil Vijay Diwas. Thank you. Thank you very much for giving me the honor. Goodbye. Jai Hind. Thank you, sir. I end here, and all the good wishes. It's all yours, BK.
Thank you very much, sir. I mean, it was great hearing you, as always, sir. And, talking straight from your heart and giving the real nuggets and not the theoretical, impressions. I mean, that has been your hallmark throughout your service. Thank you very much. And I salute everybody for, sparing your time and speaking on this very important day to the nation, because now we will call it a day. Thank you very much. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat, and salute to the martyrs once again.
पर मत भूलो मेरे वतन के लोगों, जरा आँख में भर लो पानी, जो शहीद हुए हैं उनकी जरा याद करो कुर्बानी। हे मेरे वतन के लोगों, जरा आँख में भर लो पानी, जो शहीद हुए हैं उनकी जरा याद करो कुर्बानी। तुम भूल न जाओ उनको, इसलिए सुनो ये कहानी, जो शहीद हुए हैं उनकी जरा याद करो कुर्बानी। जब घायल हुआ हिमालय, खतरे में पड़ी आजादी, जब तक थी सांस लड़े वो, जब तक थी सांस लड़े वो, फिर अपनी लाश बिछा दी, संगीन पे धर कर माथा, सो गए अमर बलिदानी, जो शहीद हुए हैं उनकी जरा याद करो कुर्बानी। जब देश में थी दिवाली, वो खेल रहे थे होली, जब हम बैठे थे घरों में, जब हम बैठे थे घरों में, वो झेल रहे थे गोली। थे धन्य जवान वो अपने, थी धन्य वो उनकी जवानी, जो शहीद हुए हैं उनकी जरा याद करो कुर्बानी। कोई सिख कोई जाट मराठा, कोई सिख कोई जाट मराठा, कोई गुरखा कोई मद्रासी, कोई गुरखा कोई मद्रासी, सरहद पर मरने वाला, सरहद पर मरने वाला, हर वीर था भारतवासी, जो खून गिरा पर्वत पर, वो खून था हिंदुस्तानी, जो शहीद हुए हैं उनकी जरा याद करो कुर्बानी। थी खून से लथपथ काया, फिर भी बंदूक उठा के 10-10 को एक ने मारा, फिर गिर गए होश गवा के, जब अंत समय आया तो जब अंत समय आया तो कह गए कि अब मरते हैं, खुश रहना देश के प्यारों, खुश रहना देश के प्यारों, अब हम तो सफर करते हैं, अब हम तो सफर करते हैं। क्या लोग थे वो दीवानी, क्या लोग थे वो अभिमानी, जो शहीद हुए हैं उनकी
When the nation joins hands to fight a common enemy, victory is certain. Though this enemy is an alien contagion, it can be no match for the fervor that unites 1.3 billion citizens. The call by the Honorable Prime Minister also mustered the power and the energy of the nation to surmount the current challenge, bringing into the fray energy conglomerate ONGC. Responding swiftly to the crisis arising from the coronavirus pandemic, ONGC started safety measures very early. Employees were asked to prepare and be technologically ready to face any restriction on movements. Work must go on was the intent. Employees who had been working on the offshore locations and onshore locations offered to continue working with extended duty periods away from their families. Our 24/7 operations and their commitment has ensured uninterrupted supply of oil and gas for the nation. They toil in the fields, adhering to all government guidelines of social distancing and hygiene. Giving additional impetus to these efforts, ONGC contributed 300 crore rupees from their CSR fund, and employees gave 2 days' salary amounting to around 16 crore rupees. But ONGC didn't stop there. We reached out to millions who suffered hardships due to the lockdown. All work centers of ONGC across the country distributed relief supplies to the needy and protective gear to frontline fighters like medical professionals, municipal workers, and security staff.
We at ONGC have always risen to the call of the hour. During this national crisis of COVID-19, we have maintained our offshore and onshore operations round the clock to maintain uninterrupted supply of oil and gas to the nation. While maintaining our operations, we have also ensured full compliance of Government of India as well as WHO guidelines like social distancing, maintaining personal hygiene, work from home, and maintaining operations with skilled staff to contain this pandemic. I firmly believe together we will overcome this national crisis.
Individually and collectively, these humane acts reflect the selfless, committed, responsible, proactive, and energetic spirit of the nation and also of ONGC. A responsible corporate helping every Indian fight this challenge collectively.
This is a story of vision and commitment. One of the biggest power utilities in Asia, NTPC Limited, was incorporated in 1975. NTPC established its first 200 megawatt unit in 1982 in Singrauli, Uttar Pradesh, which still registers a plant load factor more than 100%. This strongly reflects on the operations and management practices adopted by NTPC. With a shift in focus to a diverse power portfolio, NTPC has forayed into natural gas, hydro, solar, wind, biomass and battery energy storage system. NTPC commands an installed capacity nearly 70,000 megawatt and generates more than 360 billion units yearly. The net worth of the company stands nearly $17 billion, with Government of India holding approximately 51% of the shares. NTPC provides a safe and healthy work environment by implementing ISO 9001, ISO 14001, OHSAS 18001 and other management practices. NTPC envisages to be world's leading power company, energizing India's growth. NTPC plans to be a 130 gigawatt company by 2032, of which about 60 gigawatt, that is nearly 50%, will be from renewable energy sources. Understanding the need for utilizing water bodies or reservoirs used for power plants to put up floating solar units, NTPC has set up country's largest 100 megawatt floating solar project at Ramagundam. NTPC is currently developing many other floating solar projects across India. In line with its focus on renewable energy generation and reducing carbon footprint, NTPC is the corporate partner of International Solar Alliance and is providing its services to ISA member countries. NTPC is engaged in the implementation of solar parks and projects as project management consultant under ISA in various countries for nearly 6,500 megawatt, across Africa 2,710 megawatt, and Latin America 3,750 megawatt. The company has also been associated with multilateral agencies including World Bank to provide O&M services to a power plant in Bangladesh. NTPC is expanding globally and its footprints include JV projects based in Bangladesh 1,320 megawatt, Sri Lanka 550 megawatt and 35 megawatt solar PV project in Togo. A long-term power trading agreement established with Bhutan, Nepal and Bangladesh is undertaken through one of its subsidiaries and VVN. Other countries where NTPC has a presence include Kenya, Myanmar, Dubai, Togo and many more. Apart from developing techno-commercially feasible power projects on time, NTPC's offerings extend into generation, consultancy, power trading, training professionals, electricity distribution, rural electrification, ash utilization, coal mining and e-mobility. NTPC's advisory services span across project management consultancy, owners or lenders, engineer services, pre-feasibility report and detailed project report studies, operation and maintenance, renovation and modernization, quality assurance and inspection services, procurement and material management services, tendering and contract management services, design engineering services of power plants, etc. NTPC also provides training programs in India or abroad through its stalwart institutions, Power Management Institute and NTPC School of Business, which helps in upskilling energy professionals. Netra, its research and incubation center, has successfully deployed several innovative pilot projects like water desalination, solar space heating, solar air conditioning, floating solar, solar trees, low-cost housing and many others. The company is focused on being a power company and a great place to work. NTPC is guided by the People Before PLF mantra, which is the template for its human resource policies. The outstanding achievement and contribution towards power sector of the country by NTPC has been acknowledged through several accolades in the recent years. NTPC, with its can-do culture, is surging ahead to realize the vision of our Prime Minister in transforming NTPC into a global company. NTPC, transforming lives towards a progressive, sustainable future.
नमस्ते बेटे।
आंटी आप ही को मिस कर रहे थे।
अमित कहाँ रह गया बेटे?
आता ही होगा।
सॉरी छोड़ो, गिफ्ट का है?
लाया हूं ना, एक बर्थडे गिफ्ट में कई बर्थडे गिफ्ट्स।
वो कैसे?
LIC की धनरेखा पॉलिसी, गारंटीड बेनिफिट्स, मनी बैक, मैच्योरिटी पे फुल पे आउट और सिर्फ हाफ टर्म तक का प्रीमियम पेमेंट। अब फिर पत्नी जी इसके साथ जो चाहे करे, ज्वेलरी शॉपिंग, हाउस रेनोवेशन, हॉलिडे।
और उसके लिए तो टाइम पे आओगे ना?
गारंटी। LIC धनरेखा, खुशियों का तोहफा।
यार अजय, लुक एट योर डैड। हम इस उम्र में ऐसे रहेंगे क्या?
बिल्कुल रहेंगे, अगर पापा जैसी सही प्लानिंग की तो।
जैसे कि?
मेरे पापा ने इन्वेस्ट किया LIC के जीवन अक्षय में, जो दे रहा है इमीडिएट और गारंटीड एन्युटी एट रेगुलर इंटरवल्स, जिंदगी भर के लिए।
वाह।
LIC के एन्युटी प्लान्स दे एन्युटी ऑप्शंस और नियमित इनकम पाने में फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी भी। LIC, हर पल आपके साथ।
यार अजय, लुक एट योर डैड। हम इस उम्र में ऐसे रहेंगे क्या?
बिल्कुल रहेंगे, अगर पापा जैसी सही प्लानिंग की तो।
पर हमें तो इस एज तक वेट करना पड़ेगा ना?
बिल्कुल नहीं, हमने तो अभी इन्वेस्ट किया है LIC के न्यू जीवन शांति में, जो हमें देगा डिफर्ड एन्युटी, मतलब कुछ साल बाद से रेगुलर इनकम।
I see.
LIC के एन्युटी प्लान्स दे एन्युटी ऑप्शंस और नियमित इनकम पाने में फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी भी। LIC, हर पल आपके साथ।
नमस्ते बेटे।
आंटी आप ही को मिस कर रहे थे।
अमित कहाँ रह गया बेटे?
आता ही होगा।
सॉरी छोड़ो, गिफ्ट का है?
लाया हूं ना, एक बर्थडे गिफ्ट में कई बर्थडे गिफ्ट्स।
वो कैसे?
LIC की धनरेखा पॉलिसी, गारंटीड बेनिफिट्स, मनी बैक, मैच्योरिटी पे फुल पे आउट और सिर्फ हाफ टर्म तक का प्रीमियम पेमेंट। अब फिर पत्नी जी इसके साथ जो चाहे करे, ज्वेलरी शॉपिंग, हाउस रेनोवेशन, हॉलिडे।
और उसके लिए तो टाइम पे आओगे ना?
गारंटी। LIC धनरेखा, खुशियों का तोहफा।
यार अजय, लुक एट योर डैड। हम इस उम्र में ऐसे रहेंगे क्या?
बिल्कुल रहेंगे, अगर पापा जैसी सही प्लानिंग की तो।
जैसे कि
मेरे पापा ने इन्वेस्ट किया LIC के जीवन अक्षय में, जो दे रहा है इमीडिएट और गारंटेड एन्युटी एट रेगुलर इंटरवल्स, जिंदगी भर के लिए।
वाह!
LIC के एन्युटी प्लान्स दे एन्युटी ऑप्शंस और नियमित इनकम पाने में फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी भी। LIC हर पल आपके साथ।
यार अजय, लुक एट योर डैड। हम इस उम्र में ऐसे रहेंगे क्या?
बिल्कुल रहेंगे, अगर पापा जैसी सही प्लानिंग की तो।
पर हमें तो इस एज तक वेट करना पड़ेगा ना।
बिल्कुल नहीं, हमने तो अभी इन्वेस्ट किया है LIC के न्यू जीवन शांति में, जो हमें देगा डिफर्ड एन्युटी, मतलब कुछ साल बाद से रेगुलर इनकम।
आई सी।
LIC के एन्युटी प्लान्स दे एन्युटी ऑप्शंस और नियमित इनकम पाने में फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी भी। LIC हर पल आपके साथ।